Hello, Jim Howard here in Fort Worth, Texas. Today's date, it's May 1st of 2024. I've been making a little bit of progress with the computer. With the computers, I've been really, just sort of sick and tired of the whole thing. But I guess yesterday a little bit, and then today I've made a little bit of progress. I guess working at it because I think I maybe spend too much time making a YouTube video or messing with YouTube or something when I should be doing some of the fundamental stuff, doing that, and then things go better if you take care of the fundamental things. I just put it away, so I'm not going to drag it out. I think it was in yesterday's video I mentioned the device that I had. I mentioned it in a couple of videos recently, and I just couldn't, I've never been able to get it. I purchased it quite a while back, and I just don't see, well, I did explain, I think in a video a few days ago, that I think it was not designed for this, and maybe not designed for, well, I don't know what kind of equipment you've got at home and what you're doing with it, or in your office, your basement office, or whatever it is. So maybe it is, maybe you people would use it, but I sure don't need it. As I mentioned before in a video, I've gone back to one monitor. Two monitors, I've used two monitors a lot in the past, but it just wasn't working for me for a number of reasons. So I'm back to one monitor. I saw on Amazon a $100 monitor that looks, I've got, what, a couple of 27-inch monitors, I think a 34-inch monitor, and so forth. But let's see if this is on the list. Let's see, I think it's on wish list. Yeah, here it is. Now, the Spectra 27-inch. I know it's only a 27-inch. It's 100 hertz though. And I watched a YouTuber, a guy who reviewed it, and he, it would be okay for me. $100 monitor. I don't have any monitors that are more than 60, hertz. I don't think. But anyway, so that's kind of on my, what I really would like to get, except at age 83, I think it's too late. I'd like to have the Apple iPad. Well, I mean, I'd like to have, something, better than that. But I mean, and out of my price range. So I'd like to have the Apple iPad 9th generation with the A13 Bionic chip, and see what I could do with that. See what I could do with that for YouTube videos, and then also to see what I could do with, on TikTok by using that. Now, several of you mentioned that when I've talked about this in the past, that, no, Jim, that really wouldn't, work well for you with the kind of videos that you're making, and that type of thing. And I agree with you. Yeah, I agree but I would change the way I do things if I were doing, using an Apple iPad like that. So I would change. Now, one thing that's been really, I'm moving right along, aren't we, here? One thing, that, let's see, I forgot already. I should have kept talking. What was I going to say? Oh, I think this is it. I think I'm going to be able to figure out. I think the problem that I cannot have full control over my YouTube site. I think the problem is, I can log in, like you can log in. I can log in and post comments and do that type of stuff. But I think the problem is that I've got so many passwords and so much stuff that gets, but I think that all I need to do is find the correct password, for my old site, the one that has over 2,000 videos on it and has 4,000, subscribers. And I think all I have to do is just, and I think it's probably going to happen by accident. Yeah, but that's something I can work, something I can work on. I'm not sure if I mentioned, I know I've been mentioning in some of the videos, my shoulder is, man, it's hurting bad all the time now. It comes out of the socket, it grinds and whatever, and I think it was like maybe 2 years ago, maybe it wasn't that long, but when I saw my doctor, this had just started before that, and when I went in, she wanted to know, okay, what's going on, and all that. Well, first thing she wanted to know is, have you been trying to lose weight? Are you on a diet? No. And then she said, well, we got to set you up for some testing, because what we find is, number one thing we think of is cancer. So, and then I went to even the eye doctor. Now the eye doctor is a follower of my, I don't know how much, she's busy, I mean really, really busy, and a great, eye doctor. She did the surgeries on my eyes just recently. But even she said the same thing. She said, you've lost a lot of weight since you were here before. And have you been dieting? Have you been, no. And then she said, what we think is cancer when we see something like that. You got to be checked, So, I watch a lot of YouTube. I don't even have a television set in my room, And, but, I sometimes have, sometimes I have two monitors here, and sometimes my Chrome book, which I don't hardly use. I like the Chrome operating system, actually, but let's see, if I got this blocking something, let's see, I'm not sure. Whoops. Where'd it go? Huh. Wow. Go over, anyway. Okay, where was I again? Well, I don't remember where I was again. I have never had a script. There are teleprompters you can actually buy. I remember when it first became available for, like YouTubers and things like that with those. I wouldn't do well with a teleprompter, because I'd be reading it. I can read pretty well, but that just wouldn't work for me. I thought, years when I was young, really, young, I didn't think that I could make a speech, or that I could make, or, get up in front of a group and do that. It never occurred to me that I could, that I could do that. I found out, yeah, I can, because I ended up having, I ended up doing it, Um, and I found out I can't work off a script, I think if I'm just talking, I can do, I can do okay. Well, you people are the ones that that probably should be deciding, rather than me saying it about myself. But I can do okay, but not if I've got a script that I have to go by, One time I've mentioned this, well, I've mentioned everything, and but you don't watch all 2,000 of those videos, I guess. So one time a college was holding, during the summer, was holding classes for their, well, not just for their, well, I think it was actually another college or whatever, and then they had a thing set up for teachers to go there to improve their skills and that kind of stuff. And so I was contacted by them. This is back in the early days of computer bulletin board systems. Early days. I mean, computers were, very few people had, well, if you multiply the number, yeah, it was a large number, but very few people. I worked at hospitals where none of the employees in the, I mean, of course they were using computers, but none of them had computers at home. One smaller hospital I worked at, out in where I lived, there was 2 people there that had, a computer, and I was one of them. The other was a respiratory therapy tech, and he was kind of a grumpy guy, kind of a weird guy too. I mean, I liked him, we got along great, but he was a bachelor and very, very private about his stuff, and he didn't interact, like that small hospital that we worked at. He just didn't, he came in and he did his job, and when he got called where he had to go, like if he was up on the, because he worked midnight, he worked the same shift I did, and so, small hospital, but still he had to take care of anybody that was on a vent, up in ICU, had to do that kind of work. And then he had to go down, and if somebody came in and needed an EKG done or whatever, he had to come down and do that, although the ER nurses could do it, and stuff like that. So, but because he had a computer and because I had a computer, we became buddies, although I didn't know. I honestly did not know for the long, I mean, I'm not too smart. I thought we were kind of debating. I think he'd come over to my house maybe once or twice a month, and I'd order in pizza, and we'd talk about computers, and I'd have the computer and that kind of stuff. And that's the first time I actually saw a digital camera in person. He came out, and he paid over $1,000 or something for it. And he came out and he said, "Look what I've got." And I said, "God damn, wow." I said, "I've seen those, online." And so anyway, he let me hold it or something, and so then later on, one time, I mentioned this before, but like I said, I've got over 2,000 videos you probably may not see. He came over, and Google had a new thing called Google Earth or something like that. And I said, of course, he was on the internet too, of course. I said, "You have got to see this." And I said, "Look at this." And I typed in my address, and then zoomed in on, I said, "Look at that," and everything. And he said, "Wow, that's interesting, And then I said, "Okay, Roger, okay, give me your address." And he said, "No, I'm not going to do that." I said, "No, stop kidding around. Give me your address. I want to, no, I'm not doing that." And, yeah, he was very, where I'm the exact opposite, Now, I'm not saying that that's, maybe he had the better idea. I mean, of keeping, being private, being more private than I was. Everybody's different, you know. But anyway, we both worked together out there, and then I got yanked out of that. That was a hospital that I hired into the main hospital, which was a mistake, a big hospital. I'd worked at other hospitals. I worked at St. Joseph Hospital, I worked at Trinity Lutheran Hospital, and then I hired in at Research Medical Center. And I hired in as soon as I got out of my car, you know, my first day. And I parked the car down on yellow level, and they had gigantic fans. I mean, okay, I can't reach that far, and it hurts my shoulder, you know. Big fans, because that was under, you know, underground. Well, not underground, but there was no, you know, it was, you get the idea, I think. And as I was driving over, now some of you who believe in God are going to think, oh, yeah, you know, God's responsible for that. But I was driving over there, and I was thinking, okay, you know, at the hospital that I just came from, 350-bed hospital, I was, you know, a security supervisor. I was the departmental training officer. Now, I didn't do the training, but I, you know, the director of security said, you're the training officer. So I brought in some guys, you know, that we paid them, you know, from the police academy and stuff like that. So, but, so anyway, at the other hospital, I was like the fire marshal. I did the fire drills. I did the, every Wednesday, I think it was, every Wednesday, I would go, well, first the director of security had been doing it, but then he turned that over to me, you know. At, I think like 9 a.m., I would, you know, go to some area of the hospital. And I then would notify the switchboard operator, because she had to turn off the fire, now it wouldn't turn off smoke detectors, I mean, that stuff would ring, but as far as notifying the hospital, I mean, notifying the fire department, you know, I would inform her that I was getting ready to do such and such a test. And then she would announce, you know, we're testing the fire alarm system. If, you know, if you do not hear the alarm going off in your area, then notify the switchboard, you know, call the switchboard operator. And so they would, and now the director of security, when he did it, he went around, and it was he wanted people to know who he was and how important he was, and he was that was just the way he was. And I was more about just getting the, you know, the job done always, and not in trying to, you know, like when I started at that hospital, there was a female supervisor on the day shift, security supervisor, and she came in really, she did her job. I mean, she did her job. Well, she didn't do I did 100% of my job, every job I worked. I don't know why. I don't know why I was that way. I mean, that's a good thing, but that's, you know, that's not everybody. But she'd come in to socialize with everybody there, you know. But she still did. I mean, she did her work, and not 100% though. But why did I get? There was this reason I got into this subject. Oh, well, yeah, because I was talking about something. You know, we picked up patients' valuables. When a patient came in the hospital, they, you know, of course they were told before they came in. You know, of course sometimes you don't have a choice. You know, the ambulance brings you in or something. You know, people were told you don't bring valuables to the hospital. Now, if you do bring valuables to the hospital, then there's different. The hospitals would vary, you know, vary with the way they did it. You know, the business office people would take your property and then lock it up or something. When people went to surgery, security would go and when we didn't take it. I mean, we'd like to lock up your valuables, and when you come back, you tell the nurse, and then we'll bring your stuff back, and stuff like that. But sidetracked again. Okay, I don't have a teleprompter. What I could use, and now with AI, that could be done. That wouldn't work with me. I'm not that smart. But when I start on a subject, there would be a thing to have an outline, but then I'd have to think ahead of time. Like have an outline, and then when I get to a point like this, it would be like I could look at the note. I started to tell you something about, Oh, anyway, when I was doing the fire, like this Wednesday thing, so I would go to a different area. The idea was eventually you're going to work your way through everywhere, And when I would go there, I'd go up to say it's a nursing station. I'd go up to the nursing station and say, I'm getting ready here at 9 o'clock to do the test of the fire alarm system, not a fire drill, And I said, do you know where the fire, so I'm at the nursing station, let's say. Do you know where the, I can't think of the name of it now, but I could then, And the nurse would say, who had worked there a long time? No. And so she's, they have a big long counter, and they have the charts here and this kind of stuff. And I said, there it is right there. I don't know how many years she'd probably been, had been right there in front of her. I said, I said, that's where it is. And I said, you should know where it is. She says, oh, okay, I'll know now. Thank you. And I said, so you've never pulled the, no. I said, okay, are you busy right now? Can you be free for a couple minutes? And she said, yes. And I said, okay. And then I, made the call to the operator, that type of thing. And then I said, okay, pull that, And then you break the little glass. Of course, there's later models and things, but little glass tube in there, you break that when you pull that. And then she said, wow, I didn't know it was that, that, I forget what she said. One of them, anyway, one of them said, okay, the nurse, let's say the nurse. Oh, I didn't know it'd be that easy to, to pull that thing. And then I remember it was then the other one was, I think, a doctor. And he said, the other, the opposite. And now, see, eventually the director of security said, oh, Jim, by the way, when you're doing those, with the pull thing there, he says, take out the glass thing first, because we're paying quite a bit of money for the little glass things that go in there. And I said, no, sir, I'm not going to do that. I want the people to know, what it feels like and the whole thing. And he said, oh, okay, Jim. So that's what, that's what I did. But, so when the alarm would go off, then the idea was, or when, if somebody didn't hear it in their area, then there was a problem, I worked one time at I was divorced. I was married at age 26. Darlene was 18, and and then our agreement, with her was, I gave her the house. There was still payments to make on it, but she had, it was paid off, fairly well. And then I gave her a car that was a really nice car. My father was a union official, and he had to travel 4 states. And the Boilermakers Union, local union 83, they gave him a nice car. You need a nice car. You need to look good, too, because the workers are seeing you. Your union members are seeing you. They want to. So my father had passed away, and so I ended up with that car, and then I had a Volkswagen Rabbit, but I can't remember now what his car was, a Buick or whatever. And the union had, whenever it needed anything done, oil changes, all that kind of stuff, they took care of it. So she got that car, the house, the car. And then I said, okay, how are we going to do income tax? Am I going to can I claim the kids as dependents? And she said, sure. She didn't care. And so I would ask every year to make sure. And then she moved in eventually for a while with the kids. Well, for a couple of years, the kids lived with me. And then she was always wanting them back, And then eventually they wanted to go one by one. They wanted to go with her. And oh, okay. So then I got audited, and I thought, well, this is ridiculous. Well, Darlene and I had a tropical fish shop for 4 years, and we made enough money to pay the bills, buy food, and do that kind of stuff. We did okay, but we weren't getting rich or anything, like that. And so I did the income tax, which was stupid. I should have had somebody, do it, or someplace I could afford. And I think, it wouldn't have been. I think I could any of the places they wouldn't have charged much for, It wasn't like I was Elon Musk or whatever his name is, or somebody, with a big. And so I did the tax returns. And I remember when I was doing the tax returns for the Siggy's Aquarium, our tropical fish shop, that I did the tax thing. I don't know what made me think I could do the taxes, although it's not as difficult as well. So anyway, I did it for a few years, and then the IRS called me up and said, Mr. Howard, you need to come to the, to be audited or whatever. And I said, you've got the numbers. See, they had it, You've got the numbers. Everything's right there. Everything is very clear. Why are you be auditing me? Well, we blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, was it American Motors, the one that went out of business for so long? They lost money every year. They never made money. And then right about that time, it was in the newspapers that, wow, American Motors, I think that's who it was, made some money. But they don't have to pay any money because they lost money for 10 or 15 years or whatever. And so that they can use that the years that they lost money, take care of, where they have to pay money, they don't have to pay the money. So then I guess a year or two later, we had the tropical fish shop, and the guy calls up and says, the IRS, and you need to come in and we need to audit your books. And I said, hey, I work 6 days a week, and I said, blah, 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 blah. And I said, why in the world, the guy said, and, you can't lose money and, keep your business or something like that. And I said, what about American Motors? I just saw that they lost money for whatever it was, 15 years, and they finally made money this year. And now you're saying that they can use that where they lost, and he said something, and Um, so then I said, well, and I mean, even like we were open six days a week, but I mean, I had to drive to the airport to pick up fish when we could. We had them delivered, by air, of course, and usually about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning they came in. I think that's because they were cargo planes, and stuff. And I said, well, why don't you have somebody come out here and check it? And the guy says, okay, Mr. Howard, we'll do that. But let me tell you what's going to happen. You're going to have every receipt, every blah, blah, blah. And of course, I didn't have any of that stuff. I mean, we had a, cash register and receipt, but, I didn't really have, it was. And so I said, I can't believe it. You're the Internal Revenue Service, the service of the federal government, and you're threatening me. What? I'm not threatening you. I said, yes, you are. That's a threat. You're making a threat. And you're not treating, you're treating American Motors and people like that okay. I said, and he said, okay, Mr. Howard, we'll come out, but we're going to check everything. And I said, that's a threat. I said, put your supervisor on. So then he put the supervisor on. Supervisor said, we're not threatening you. And I said, okay, I'll come down. So I went down and with Darlene, went in there. Guy seemed nice, whoever it was. And he said, well, the reason you're here, Mr. Howard, and I forget the terminology and the things, like I'm not great with money. I love spending money, but I'm not great with money. And Darlene had started the business, and she had ordered in the shelves made and all that kind of stuff. She'd taken care of a lot. I was working as a welder and that kind of stuff. And then eventually, her mother was working with her, and then eventually her mother got tired of that. So then she told me, that I would have to, and so I gave up a good welding job, United Auto Workers Union, pension plan, all that kind of stuff, good money. Well, it was, you've heard of probably Kenworth Trucks. This was that corporation. But it was Dart Truck, where we were one of the gigantic buildings was making Kenworth trucks. The building next to it was where I worked, we made, Dart trucks, gigantic trucks. I mean, big trucks. The kind that go down and that had to be put together and then taken apart and shipped to South Africa and in parts taken down. And some of our people, I didn't have enough seniority, but some of our people had to go and then go down in the mine and then put the trucks back together, that type of stuff. But I anyway went to the IRS. I've only been talking 33 minutes. I'm sure you probably pulled your hair. Well, you probably pulled your hair out, waiting for me to say something worthwhile. So anyway, he says, the Internal Revenue, okay, well, the problem, Mr. Howard, here is that you bought an X amount of stuff to sell, and you took in X amount of money. And so where is the other stuff, and I was like, what? Yeah, and then he said, let me explain this to you again. I can't remember what he said, a long time ago. And then I said, oh, wait a minute. I said, we had just got married. Darlene here had, set the thing up. I said, so the shelves and those things that we had built and everything, that wasn't inventory. That was, I forget what there was the other name for it. So that's what that was. So that I had, when I did the income tax, so bad me, I messed up on that. And we didn't have to pay any money. But I think that they stuck with the premise of, because I think a lot of people have a business they have a business, but it's you know, they're buying stuff and getting, taking it as inventory or taking it as different stuff. So that was, I wouldn't have been a good crook, whatever. I'd have probably cheated myself. I'd have probably paid, back to something. Anyway, a college during the summer set up things for teachers to come, and so they went to, not to their school but to this college, and they got college. What do they call that? A lot of people have to, especially professional people, and especially like police, fire. Like when I was a police officer, or even as a security officer, there was things, that we had to take, CPR, and I was a CPR instructor on top of that, and all that kind of stuff. But so anyway, this college called me and said, Mr. Howard, because that was the early days of the bulletin board system. Very few people, But then I guess some of these teachers knew, and we'd like you to come and talk about computers and computer bulletin board system, that type of stuff and everything. And the lady in charge of it says, now we have a computer and a modem, and I don't know if she knew what a modem was, but she said, we have everything here, software and everything, so you don't have to bring anything. And I said, oh, okay. Dumb me. I should have known better, So then I showed up, and when I got there, right away, the lady that was in charge, oh, Mr. Howard, Mr. Howard, I'm so sorry. And then another, a teacher there, who was there for the thing, said, I'm so sorry. I messed up your thing and whatever. So then, I wasn't mad or anything. Honestly, was not mad or anything. I was just thinking I should have, have come prepared with my own stuff. But then, they didn't laugh at me or anything, but then, what did I know about teaching? I didn't know anything about teaching, so I got a piece of chalk and went, I knew I was being, I knew this was embarrassing, but I did. What I should have done is sort of like what I'm doing now. What I should have done is just, pull up a chair there, and then I should have just said, hey, I got a computer, or from Radio Shack for such and such, and blah blah blah. And I just should have done that, and that would have been an entertaining story, I think, and they would have had a bunch of questions and the whole thing. And I just, sneaked out of there with my head down. I'm exaggerating, but that was that wasn't good. So I'm pretty sure that I'm going to be able to get this problem that I have fixed here. I just need to get the correct, login and password, the correct password, whatever, to get in, and then I think I'll be okay. But in the meantime, and I'll try to remember to do it. I'll try to remember to, and I haven't been remembering to do it. I'll put here. Well, no, I need to do it on the main, the thing I can't get into, but I can get in there and leave a comment. I just can't get in there and upload a video, and I can't do some other stuff. So what I'll try to do is get in there and put a link so you can go to this other place where my new videos are going up. And I think there's about 8 maybe there now. And till I get this thing fixed. Yeah. So that's By the way, if you remember the thing with the raccoon whisperer, I got that right because I was a while back. There's a guy that's the raccoon. He's in Canada, an ex Royal Canadian or whatever, the Canadian something police, and he's been up there. He's up in Canada, and he's feeding the raccoons and other stuff. And I just happened to see. First, Darlene, my ex-wife, said, "You got to go to this site. This guy, he's in Canada, and whatever." And then my son went there. My son said, "Oh wow," and then Darlene told Hillary she's into cats and all kinds of animals. She lives close by, not in Fort Worth, but right outside of Fort Worth and everything. So I went there, and then I started watching the guy. Now, then I'm not going to go into it, but well, barely into it, not really into the details of the thing. But he and he was single. I started watching. I was getting tired of, because it was just feeding raccoons, feeding raccoons or whatever. And he did a few other things, but I kind of got tired of that. And then he met a woman, from the United States or whatever, and then so they were doing some stuff, going out. So he was taking her and showing her different eating places and that kind of stuff. And so I watched it, not as much, but I watched a little bit. And then he had a serious medical condition, and she's from the United States. She is from the United States, and so she was having to worry about him, and also she had to take care of the animals and stuff, all that kind of stuff. So there's a bunch going on, and so he was in the hospital, and so then she was she would go to the hospital, because she was a nurse, so she was great. That was great for I guess him. I mean, just at the right time and stuff. And then of course he was telling her, okay, you got to do do this, and so she was doing that. So anyway, she said that she was going to post information about him, because all these people, and a lot he has. Well, let's see. I forget how many he had. I mean, he has a lot more than I have members, and that kind of stuff. A lot, no comparison. Now, one thing I didn't like about him is that he had things all around, posted all kinds of things. You cannot copy my material. You can't do this. You can't do that. All that kind of stuff. And I thought, come on, he doesn't. Even he did not, and still doesn't understand how this all works. That it went. Because I was there at the beginning of it and helped to create the beginning of the way things worked. That you did, recommend somebody's site, and you put the link to it and did stuff like that. You didn't copy them. Well, some people did. You weren't supposed to copy, But he anyway. So his new wife, she was posting, and he still. I just happened to see. I stopped watching him. Well, that's a story, I stopped. One, I got tired of the same thing happening. But when he was, really in bad condition, with a lot, and she was, trying to fill people in. But what she was doing was, and you will understand this, I think, she was posting a comment. Here, okay, here's, such and such was done, and he's feeling better, and he's going to be able to come, down on the page. So, one, people don't go down and read, some people do, but they don't go down and read that type of stuff. It needed to be at the top, and where people would, it'd be at the top, and some other things she did not understand, that, so a whole bunch of people, wouldn't know what was going on. Now, when he came finally out of the hospital, I think then that he realized, I guess explained to her, no, you need to put, up here, if you just make a thing and it scrolls down and it's gone and people will never see it, they're not going to read, and plus two, he has a lot of people, coming in. So I went over there once or twice, and up at the top or whatever, I put in, the link, and thought I was doing them a favor. And I didn't put a link to, my site or anything else, I just put a link, So when he came out of the hospital, wow, he ripped into me. How dare he? He doesn't know me. I don't know, he's saying, I don't know him and he doesn't know me. And he has no business telling people what my medical condition is. And I didn't, I just explained that, go to this lady, go to this spot to get information on, So then he sent 6 minutes for ripping into me. So, online, live. So I had never been copied. I never copied any of it. It's very rare for me to ever copy anybody's material. If I do, it's very short, and it's the links, here's where you go to get information on that type of stuff. So he ripped into me for 6 minutes. So I went, and by that time I'd stopped watching him, by the way. Except I was checking occasionally because I know he was sick, and then I did check occasionally to see, not to watch him feed the raccoons anymore, but because I'd seen enough of that, tired of that. But he ripped into me, and by the way, you can see that story on my main page, the one I can't post to anymore, really. So he unfairly ripped into me, and I didn't attack him or anything else, And a whole bunch, of course, I got a whole bunch of traffic that came from his site because he put there, he put there attacking me. So a whole bunch of people came, and some of them just came without looking at my site or anything and just said, how dare you copy his material? How you don't know that man? How dare you give medical information on him and that type of stuff? I didn't bother to. I didn't. I don't get into, there's a whole group of, there were, and I'm sure there still are, I just don't see them, but I knew some of them who they thought that the fun thing to do was to attack somebody else. And they knew too, if you attack somebody else and then that person, attacks you, you get more people. And then they, before that actually probably worked. But I ended up getting quite a few followers too. People would come. Now some people came and attacked me. How dare you, you don't know him and copying his material. You're not supposed to do that. But then a whole bunch came and said, yeah, Mr. Howard or Jim or whatever, you didn't do anything wrong at all. And and some of them said that on his site, which I believe, he didn't tolerate anybody, any kind of a disagreement with him at all. And if you said something he didn't like, he banned you from the place. I think in my entire, starting from 1982, I think I probably banned less than 10 people in all those years. I just didn't do that. And it really worked out. That worked out for me. It made me, and well, because there was a guy there in the Kansas City area, Radio Shack. Okay, I had a Radio Shack Model 1. And he, bought one, or maybe more than one, because he wrote the software for the radio. Now, I couldn't use that software because I couldn't afford a hard drive or whatever. For the Radio Shack Model 1, you had to spend $350 for a box that went underneath it that had some stuff and that you plugged into, and then a hard drive would work, 100. If you had a 100 meg hard drive or a 50, that was a lot back then or whatever. But anyway, this guy in Kansas City area, it just happened that he was in the Kansas City area, and for the Radio Shack Model 1 computer, people were buying his software from all over. But he just ripped into people and humiliated them and banned them from his system and all kinds of stuff. And that made me change. And a lot of PBS The Documentary, if you want to, it's available on YouTube for free. The guy, Jason, or whatever, who, went around the United States, he interviewed me for about 3 hours, 2.5 hours, I guess. He went around and then he made, put the thing online. And eventually he, I'm not even going to mention that, but I did mention it someplace several times. But the people on there, of course, I'm in the video. In fact, when I went out to California for the preview of the thing, when I got there, he came over and he said, Jim, he said, you coming from Florida, so you're the person who came the furthest and everything. And he said, the other thing is, he says, you got the biggest laugh out of the thing. Now, he says, this is what we intend, the thing that we're showing here, the preview of it, that's what we intend to do. But he says, we can, if you object to, people laughing, whatever, I can take that out. I said, no. He says, well, do you want to see what? And I said, no, I don't care, And you'll have to watch it. It's on YouTube, by the way, and of course you have to watch the entire thing. Now, you don't have to watch the entire thing, but yeah, I'm not going to mention that other thing. And now I did get on that subject. Well, we're coming up onto an hour. That's one thing about this. What I want to do, when and if I can ever get into my main site that's been there from 2005, what I want to do is go through. I hate listening. I don't like to listen to myself, but I have to listen sometimes to make sure the audio is working, that type of stuff. And there's been a few times that I just listen for a little bit, and then I find out later somebody will say, oh, the audio went bad or whatever, because I don't want to hear. I've been talking for almost an hour. I don't want to sit and listen to this, I don't want to hear myself for an hour, I'm not that much of an egotistical person. I'm not sure that's the proper way to use the word ego. So I do think I'm going to eventually get my problem settled here. And when I do, I'm going to, my thing that's been here since 2005, I want to get in and remove some stuff that is old news and do that and kind of clean it up. But most of it will stay there. And now I don't know, I don't think I deleted that. It didn't matter. But I was making a video about John F. Kennedy's assassination, and how I, wanted to join the Peace Corps and all kinds of stuff, and whoever, the first cameras for computers, were RS-232 port, not what we have now, and that type of stuff. So that was interesting. Okay. I forget because I got sidetracked again. Anyway, I want to, so when I get, if I do, access to my main site, 4,000 subscribers and over 2,000 videos, or whatever, I do want to go in and clean it up a little bit. But then I have a site, now that you're probably watching this video on. And then I'm going to work, when I get this other, when I can get backwards, on this other one, I want to do things a little bit differently. And I want to make the videos better. With, better thumbnails and playlist. Like I made playlists, and some of them, they're still listed. Want to get that organized a little bit better. So anyway, thank you very much for watching, and I'm going to try to remember to, on the main site, which I can't upload anything to, but I can make comments. I can leave messages and make a comment. And so I'll put a link from there to this site. And, please subscribe, especially subscribe because of the situation I've got here, So anyway, thank you very much for watching.